Pull up a chair, this is going to take a while. You think you know Rory McIlroy. You think you know the smile, the swing, the green jackets, the little girl named Poppy, the pretty wife in the white hat standing quietly off to the side while the cameras roll and the announcers talk about legacy and greatness and the history of the game. You think you've seen the fairy tale. Sunday afternoon at Augusta, the embrace on the 18th green, the teary-eyed I love you into the lens, it's beautiful, it's clean. It's the kind of story golf sells to people who only watch 4 weekends a year. But the real story, the one almost nobody knows, it's not clean at all. It's complicated and messy and full of choices that would make most people wince. And it starts, of all places, with a police siren screaming through suburban Chicago in May of 2012. Before we get to that siren though, we have to talk about Erica Stoll. Because most people, even hardcore golf fans, can't tell you much about her beyond her name and her husband's last name. She was born and raised in upstate New York. Quiet girl, private. The kind of person who does not seek the spotlight, who does not build a brand, who does not post lifestyle content or do interviews or try to become famous off someone else's talent. Before she ever met Rory McIlroy, she worked for the PGA of America. Her job? Logistics, event coordination, making sure things didn't fall apart behind the scenes at the biggest golf tournaments in the world. Think about what that job actually requires. You are dealing with world-class athletes with egos the size of small continents. You are managing schedules that change by the minute. You are at events where millions of dollars, careers, and legacies are on the line. You need to be sharp. You need to stay calm when everyone else is losing their minds. You need to be a problem solver, not a problem creator. And Erica Stoll, by every account from everyone who ever worked with her, was exactly that person. Cool under pressure, unflappable, the kind of person you want in the room when everything goes sideways. And in May 2012, at the Ryder Cup at Medina Country Club just outside Chicago, everything went sideways for a 23-year-old Rory McIlroy. To understand how sideways, you have to understand what the Ryder Cup is. It's not a normal golf tournament. It's Europe versus America, and it is the most emotionally charged, electrically chaotic event in the sport. Packed grandstands, flags waving, grown men crying, comebacks that get their own names in the history books. And Rory McIlroy at that point was already Europe's big weapon. He'd won the US Open in 2011. He had 2 majors. He was 23 years old and being talked about as the next Tiger Woods. His captain, Jose Maria Olazabal, was counting on him for the Sunday singles matches. Everything was riding on Rory showing up on time and doing what he does. Except Rory almost didn't show up at all. There was a mix-up, a confusion over time zones. Rory thought his tee time was an hour later than it actually was. So he's back at his hotel, relaxed, getting ready at what he thinks is a comfortable pace, probably scrolling his phone, maybe eating a sandwich. Meanwhile, at the golf course, the clock is ticking, the captain is packing, the television producers are sweating, everyone is asking the same question: where is Rory McIlroy? Most people in Erica Stoll's position would have panicked. They would have called 100 different people. They would have created chaos trying to fix the chaos. They would have made the situation worse. Erica Stoll picked up the phone, called the local police, and arranged a full police escort. Lights, sirens, the whole thing. She got Rory McIlroy from his hotel to the first tee with minutes to spare. He made it. He played. He helped Europe pull off the miracle at Medina, one of the greatest comebacks in Ryder Cup history, coming from 10-6 down to win. And somewhere in that blur of screaming sirens and screeching tires and the adrenaline of a historic victory, Rory McIlroy remembered the woman who made sure he was there for it. Now here's where the story gets complicated, because life is not a romantic comedy. Rory wasn't single in 2012. He was in a serious high-profile relationship with Caroline Wozniacki, the Danish tennis star. They were one of those couples that magazines loved, 2 elite athletes, 2 continents, 2 massive smiles. They were engaged. The wedding was being planned. Everything looked perfect from the outside. But according to Alan Shipnuck's biography on McIlroy, titled Rory, the heartache and triumph of golf's most human superstar, there were people around that very same Ryder Cup weekend who described Rory as throwing what a PGA staffer called every ounce of game he had at Erica Stoll, right there at the event, while he was engaged to someone else. Now Shipnuck himself admits there's no proof that anything inappropriate happened. He's careful about that. But he put the observation in the book for a reason, and whether you want to call it a red flag or just a glimpse of human weakness, it matters later in this story. Patterns matter. The way a person acts when they think nobody is watching matters. And when you look at what comes next, the public breakup, the quiet reconnection, the private wedding, the public divorce filing, the quiet reconciliation, you start to wonder whether the story of Rory McIlroy the human being has always been a little more complicated than the story of Rory McIlroy the golfer. Let's fast forward to 2014. Rory and Caroline Wozniacki call off their engagement. And it is brutal, not just because breakups are painful but because of how it happened. According to every report at the time, Caroline found out through a press release. Rory's team issued a statement to the media. There was no private conversation first, no warning, just a cold legal announcement that the engagement was off, and then the whole world was talking about it. Caroline handled it with grace. She always has, but Rory took a beating in the court of public opinion. He looked cold. He looked avoidant. He looked like someone who would rather let a piece of paper do his talking than look someone in the eye. After that, Rory threw himself into golf even harder than before. He won. He kept winning. He climbed back to world number 1, and somewhere along the way he reconnected with Erica Stoll. By 2015 they were officially dating. And here's the first thing you notice about this relationship compared to the one with Wozniacki. It's quiet, almost invisible. No magazine covers, no red carpets, no joint interviews. Rory said at the time, "Erica has been around me quite a lot at tournaments, but we have really just tried to keep it low-key. She is a very low-key person, not the kind to broadcast stuff." You can hear the relief in his voice, like he's found something real after something shiny. December 2015, he proposes in Paris. The Eiffel Tower, the whole romantic spectacle, and even the engagement is kept quiet for as long as possible. April 22, 2017, they get married at Ashford Castle in County Mayo, Ireland. If you've never seen pictures of this place, stop reading for a second and look it up. It's stunning. Stone towers, lush green grounds, a lake that looks like it belongs in a painting. The whole thing reportedly cost around €200,000. The guest list is insane. Stevie Wonder performs live. Ed Sheeran performs live. Podrick Harrington from Game of Thrones is there. Niall Horan from One Direction is there. The security around the event is so tight that almost no photos leak to the press. Rory McIlroy, one of the most famous golfers on the planet, marries the woman who once got him to a golf course on time with a police escort, and they do it quietly with big fanfare but almost no public footprint. For a while, it really does look like a fairy tale. They move to Jupiter, Florida, they build a life, they seem happy. Rory keeps winning. Erica keeps being Erica, private, supportive, invisible in all the right ways. But here's the thing about fairy tales, they always have a dark chapter, and the McIlroy's dark chapter was waiting in the wings, growing bigger every year. Married life on the PGA Tour is brutal on families. If you're not a golf fan, you might not understand this. The tour season is 30+ weeks long. You are in a different city almost every week. You are dealing with different time zones, different hotels, different course conditions, different pressures. And when you're Rory McIlroy, the pressure isn't just to make the cut or finish top 10. The pressure is to win majors, to be the best. To justify the hype that started when you were a teenager, and when the golf isn't going well, you bring all of that home with you, the frustration, the silence, the obsession over what went wrong, the hours spent on the range instead of at the dinner table. August 2020. In the middle of the BMW Championship, Rory tells reporters that not only is his wife pregnant but she is due any day now. 2 days later, on August 31st, Poppy Kennedy McIlroy is born, and suddenly the dynamic shifts again. Now there's a baby. Now Erica is not just managing her own life around Rory's schedule. She's managing their daughter's life. She's doing the late nights, the doctor's appointments. The first words, the first steps, the 1,000 small, beautiful, exhausting moments that happen while Rory is on a plane to another tournament in another time zone. A source later told Us Weekly that Erica was feeling lonely in the marriage, that she and Rory were, in the words of the source, living very different lives. She was home in Jupiter, he was on the road, she was raising Poppy, he was chasing a major championship that kept slipping away. By 2023, according to Shipnuck's biography, things had reached what people close to Rory described as a tough spot. The marriage was strained. Golf had become, in Rory's own words later, all-consuming. He hadn't won a major in almost a decade. The last one was 2014, the PGA Championship at Valhalla. Everything since then had been close calls and heartbreaks. The pressure was immense, and the gap between his public life, the smiles, the interviews, the endorsement deals with Nike and TaylorMade and Omega, and his private life was growing wider by the month. Something was building, and in May 2024 it finally broke. Here's the moment. One day after winning the Wells Fargo Championship, a PGA Tour event, Rory McIlroy files for divorce from Erica Stoll in a Florida court. The legal language in the filing is stark. It's cold. It says the marriage is irretrievably broken. 7 years of marriage, a 4-year-old daughter, a €200,000 wedding at Ashford Castle with Ed Sheeran and Stevie Wonder performing, and now irretrievably broken. Those are the words he signed. Those are the words he let a lawyer file. The golf world absolutely explodes. The timing makes it even more shocking. The PGA Championship, one of the 4 major championships, is just days away. The biggest stages in the sport. The world number 2, arguably the face of professional golf, is in the middle of a divorce filing. His communications team releases a brief statement. They ask for privacy. They stress that Rory wants the process to be respectful and amicable. He will not be making any further comment. The silence doesn't stop the speculation. Within hours, one name starts appearing everywhere. Amanda Balionis. She's a CBS sports reporter. She covers golf. She has interviewed Rory McIlroy dozens of times, often right after his round, standing on the edge of the 18th green while he's still catching his breath. People start pointing back to a May 2024 interview between the two of them, saying the chemistry was obvious, that the body language was off, that something was there. Balionis and McIlroy both maintain to this day that their relationship has always been entirely professional. Neither has ever confirmed any kind of personal involvement. And I'm not here to pile on rumors or play gossip columnist, but I would be not doing my job as a storyteller if I didn't tell you that this was the conversation happening across every golf forum, every sports media outlet, and every golf fans group chat in May of 2024. Because the timing of the divorce filing, right as those rumors were at their peak, made it impossible to ignore. And then something happened that nobody expected. Less than a month later, June 11, 2024, Rory McIlroy's legal team files a notice of voluntary dismissal in the same Florida court. The divorce is off, just like that, filed then dismissed. 28 days, a legal flip-flop that almost never happens in high-profile divorces, especially when the filing was so stark, so final in its language. Rory releases a statement to The Guardian, and this is the key quote, the one you should remember. Over the past weeks, Erica and I have realized that our best future was as a family together. Thankfully, we have resolved our differences and look forward to a new beginning. A new beginning, not a continuation, not a reconciliation that pretends nothing happened. A new beginning. Erica Stoll says nothing publicly. She never does, that's not her style. She doesn't give interviews, she doesn't explain herself. She doesn't defend her choices to the millions of people who are suddenly voraciously interested in her marriage. And now the question everyone is asking, what actually happened in those 28 days? What changed? What was said? What was decided? Who made the first move? Was it a grand romantic gesture? A brutal, honest conversation? A therapist's office? A moment with Poppy that made both of them realize what they were about to lose? We don't know for certain. We may never know. Erica Stoll will probably never write a memoir. Rory McIlroy will probably never give a tell-all interview. The truth of those 28 days is locked inside two people who have shown, over and over, that they value their privacy more than they value setting the record straight for strangers on the internet. But what we do know is what came after. And what came after is one of the most remarkable, revealing, and deeply human chapters in modern golf history. September 2025. Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black on Long Island, New York. If you've never been to Bethpage, here's what you need to know. It's not a polite golf course. It's a public course built for working-class New Yorkers, and the crowds reflect that. They are loud, they are drunk, they are creative with their insults. And Rory McIlroy is representing Europe, which makes him the villain in front of 40,000 Americans who have been drinking since sunrise. Rory is playing some of the best golf of his life. He's already won 2 PGA Tour events in 2025. He's absolutely on fire, and the American crowd decides to make Erica Stoll their target. It is ugly, genuinely ugly. Fans chant terrible things at Rory. They chant the name of Amanda Balionis directly at Erica Stoll. They don't whisper it, they don't hide it, they scream it right at her while she's standing there holding Poppy's hand or just trying to watch her husband compete. There are reports of a beer being thrown from the crowd. It grazes her hat, splashes her shoulder. A drink thrown at a woman who is simply there to support her husband. For what? For being married to a man the crowd doesn't like. For existing. For wearing the wrong colors on the wrong day at the wrong golf course. Erica Stoll keeps walking. She doesn't react, she doesn't respond. She doesn't give them the satisfaction of a flinch, a tear, an angry glance. She wears the same calm expression she has always worn in public. The same composure that once called a police escort to save a Ryder Cup. The same stillness that has carried her through a public divorce filing in 28 days of the whole world speculating about her marriage. By every account from everyone who was there, she was completely composed, dignified, unbreakable. After the Ryder Cup, which Europe wins, by the way, because of course they do, Rory McIlroy is asked about the harassment his wife faced. And for the first time in a long time, you hear something real from him, not the polished PR answer, not the safe, boring, media-trained nothing statement, something real. He says, Erica is fine, she's a very, very strong woman. She handled everything this week with class and poise and dignity like she always has. I love her. He also makes a broader point. Players' loved ones, he says, should be off limits, full stop, not open to debate, not part of the entertainment, off limits. Now, think about that for a second. Think about the weight of those words coming from this man at this moment. This is the same man who filed for divorce from this woman 16 months earlier, who signed a document saying their marriage was irretrievably broken. Who put her through one of the most publicly humiliating experiences a spouse can endure, having your marriage's collapse become global news, having reporters speculate about your husband's fidelity, having strangers on the internet debate your private life as if it were a sports statistic. And she showed up, at Bethpage at Augusta, at the Ryder Cup, with Poppy in her arms or by her side, quietly, dignifiedly, every single time. Whether you're a Rory McIlroy fan or not, you have to respect Erica Stoll. You have to look at that woman in the white hat and wonder what it takes to hold your head up like that after everything. April 2025. The Masters, Augusta National Golf Club, the most famous golf tournament in the world. Rory McIlroy had been trying to win the Masters for over a decade. The career Grand Slam, winning all 4 majors, was the one thing he couldn't complete. He had the US Open, the Open Championship, the PGA Championship. But the Masters was the one that got away. Year after year, agonizing near misses, famous collapses. Sunday heartbreaks that became highlight reels of what almost was. You could make a 10-minute video of Rory McIlroy walking off the 18th green at Augusta with that look on his face, the look of a man who just watched something he wanted more than anything slip through his fingers. And in 2025 he does it. Rory McIlroy wins the Masters finally, after everything: the majors drought, the divorce filing, the Ryder Cup chaos, the Amanda Balionis rumors, the public scrutiny, the media circus. The 28 days of wondering if his marriage would survive. He stands on the 18th green at Augusta National and he wins. And where is Erica Stoll? She is right there. She has been there all week. At the par 3 contest alongside Poppy, smiling, walking the grounds, being seen but not performing. On the 18th green when he holds the final putt, Rory McIlroy, visibly overwhelmed, embraces her. He hugs Poppy. He is in tears, real tears, ugly crying tears. The kind you can't fake, the kind that come from somewhere deep. The kind that make television announcers go quiet for a moment because they don't know what to say. And in his victory speech he speaks directly to them, not to the crowd, not to his sponsors, not to the golf writers or the historians or the millions of people watching around the world. He looks at his wife and his daughter and he says, "I love you." The cameras capture every second. The body language experts and the tabloid writers do their thing in the days after, analyzing how she hugged him, whether a pat on the back was warm enough, whether her smile reached her eyes, whether she looked happy or just relieved. It is frankly embarrassing that anyone wastes time on that. It is the kind of empty speculation that fills the void when people don't have real access to real emotions. What the cameras actually capture is this: a man who had nearly thrown away his marriage, who had put his family through enormous pain, standing at the top of his sport and choosing in that moment to say "I love you" out loud. And a woman who had every reason to walk away, every reason to stay home, every reason to let him stand on that green alone, choosing to be there, choosing to stay, choosing to hold him. That is not a fairy tale. Fairy tales are for children. That is something messier and more meaningful. That is 2 flawed human beings deciding, after almost destroying everything, to keep going. And then 2026 comes, and he wins it again. Back-to-back Masters titles, history, the kind of stuff they will write about for decades. Only a handful of players have ever done that. Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, now Rory McIlroy, back-to-back green jackets, and Erica is there again, quietly, always. So let me ask you a question, a real one. What do you think really happened in those 28 days, the days between the divorce filing and the dismissal? Was it love, real messy, complicated, forgiving love, the kind that doesn't make sense on paper but keeps 2 people together against all logic? Was it practicality, the cold realization that divorce would destroy a brand, cost millions, and tear apart a little girl's world? Was it Poppy, a 4-year-old who doesn't care about majors or green jackets or legacy, who only cares about who reads her bedtime story and who shows up to her school play? Was it the moment Rory looked ahead 10 years and saw himself walking off the 18th green alone, with nobody to hug, nobody to say "I love you" to, and realized that all the trophies in the world mean nothing if you have nobody to share them with? Or was it something else entirely, something we will never know because some stories are not meant for public consumption? Some conversations happen behind closed doors, some decisions are made in the quiet hours of the night when no cameras are rolling and no reporters are watching. Here's the thing I keep coming back to. Rory McIlroy is chasing history right now. 2 more majors, the US Open and the Open Championship, and he completes a 2nd career Grand Slam, something only Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods have ever done. He is in rarefied air. He is building a legacy that will outlive him. And here is the uncomfortable parallel that nobody in golf wants to talk about directly. Tiger Woods was chasing history too. He was building a legacy too. He was the most dominant golfer of his generation, maybe of any generation, and behind the scenes his marriage was fracturing in ways the public didn't see until it all came apart at once. The car accident, the infidelity, the divorce, the public humiliation, the slow, painful, never quite the same comeback. Tiger lost his family in the pursuit of greatness. He has said as much in so many words, in interviews that feel like confessions. I'm not saying Rory McIlroy is Tiger Woods. They are different men, different marriages, different circumstances, but the pattern rhymes: the obsessive pursuit of greatness, the isolation it creates, the pressure it puts on relationships, the way the public image, the smiling champion, the devoted husband, the loving father can exist alongside a private reality that is much more fragile. The way a man can sign divorce papers one month and win a Masters the next and still not know in his heart whether he made the right choice. Does Rory McIlroy know that? Has he learned from watching Tiger's flameout? Is that why he reversed the divorce? Because some version of wisdom finally cut through the noise, some voice inside him said, don't make his mistake? Or is the story not over yet? Is there another chapter coming, one we can't see from here, one that might break the fairy tale for good? That I genuinely do not know, and honestly I don't think Rory McIlroy knows either. That's the thing about messy, complicated, deeply human stories. Nobody knows how they end until they end. But what I do know is this. Right now, in the summer of 2026, Rory McIlroy is one of the most fascinating stories in all of sports. Not just because of the golf, though the golf is extraordinary, back-to-back Masters, chasing a second career Grand Slam, playing the best golf of his life at an age when most players are starting to decline. But because of everything happening around the golf. The marriage that almost ended, the wife who stayed. The daughter growing up watching her dad win the most famous golf tournament in the world. The question of whether he can hold it all together, the marriage, the family, the sanity, the focus, long enough to finish what he started. Golf fans, I'll be honest with you. I'll be watching every single major from here on out with two eyes, one eye on the leaderboard, on the scores, on the history being made, and one eye on the 18th green, scanning the crowd for Erica Stoll in that white hat, because every time she's there something important is happening, not just a putt dropping, not just a trophy being raised, something human, something real. Something that reminds us that even the greatest champions are just people, trying to figure it out as they go, making mistakes, asking for forgiveness, showing up for each other when it matters most. That is the real story of Rory McIlroy and Erica Stoll, not the fairy tale the cameras show you on Sunday afternoons. Something far more complicated, far more messy, and honestly far more worth understanding.